Oh, we lost you, Nick.
Really? All right, I'm transitioning over. It should work. Hold on. All right, can you hear me, Jayhawk? I think we're live. Just a second, everyone. Bear with us here. Yeah, I don't know if you could hear me, Jayhawk, but we are live. Um, you may have to
yeah, we
leave and come back.
yeah we lost you, Nick.
No, I think we lost you, Jayhawk. Hold on one second. Guys in the chat, let us know. Can you hear me and Jayhawk, or neither of us, or am I missing? Um, hold on. I'm going to ping you offline. I'm in and live. You may need to leave and come back. Hold on one second. We can hear, yeah, they can hear us both. So if you can't hear me, okay, Jayhawk's going to leave and come back. But once again, happy Monday, everybody. Nick Marro here, soon to be with Jayhawk to help you break down tonight's NBA DFS main slates on both DraftKings and FanDuel. Decent sized slate tonight. I think we're looking at, let's see here, what does DK say? 6 games, condensed to the early window. So we got 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. games. But yeah,
Perfect, Nick. Can you hear me now?
yeah, I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
You're good. I don't know. This
Okay.
happens, man. It's a little bit weird.
Yeah, it's like I went live and they could hear both of us, but you couldn't hear me. So I
Mhm.
think now we're good to go. But yeah, man, Swerve, I'm with you. My brother and dad went to LSU. They're diehard fans of every LSU sport. So tonight's game's definitely circled on my calendar. Should be good TV watching them go against Caitlin Clark. Jose here, as always. What's up, gentlemen? Um, Hold on. He was thinking of a good April Fool's, but everyone's here to make money. So he decided to pass. Appreciate that, man. I mean, yeah, tonight's slate pretty interesting. We got 6 games, a few injuries across the league, some widespreads, nothing too crazy, I don't think. But what are your initial thoughts, Jayhawk? Because I mean, ownership seems pretty reasonable on both sites. A few pieces of value, maybe a little bit overowned, but I don't know. Some of it's tough to get away from, I think.
Yeah, man. Definitely, interesting slate today. Just kind of interesting, getting back in the groove of things with MLB and NBA. Kind of interested to see where the field if they slow down with NBA or whatever. But yeah, I think we got a bunch of good plays here today. Particularly, I really like Brooklyn here. Your Nets against Indiana, one of the teams I was really targeting here on this slate.
Yeah, man, let's start off with them. I mean, as always, I'm happy to talk Nets basketball, even when they're terrible. But yeah, we got no Cam Johnson here. Obviously, Ben Simmons out for the year. Smith Jr.'s out. Bates Diop hasn't been super involved in the rotation, but he's going to be out as well. So looking at kind of a tight rotation here. Cam Thomas looks to be popular on both sides, playing really good basketball right now. Definitely too cheap over on DK. Trendon Watford seeing increased minutes. Even with Finney Smith back in the rotation, we've seen him getting 20 plus every game. Love that price over on DK. Almost a lot for me. Obviously, don't love to say that word, but on DraftKings, if I'm over there, he's tough to get away from. And then obviously, you can mix in guys like Schroeder, Claxton, Bridges, who's been pretty inconsistent, but has shown upside from time to time. But I'm guessing you're on Thomas and Watford, right? Are you super heavy on both? Do you think they're properly owned? And is there anything else, I guess, from this Nets team you're focusing on?
Yeah, man. So Watford, I wasn't heavy on. I think the first slate he was chalked like 2 sets ago. I wasn't too heavy, but without Cam Johnson here, I think he looks pretty dang good, man. 3,600. I think he's a little bit too cheap on drafting. So we're like Watford, and I've kind of just been playing Cam Thomas now for the past 2 slates. His price just has not came up north of 7,200. So I think it's just too cheap, man. So I love both these guys on DraftKings.
Yeah, man, I'm right there with you, and I'm playing more on FanDuel tonight. Again, we're balancing MLB and NBA. It gets tough. I will say this: I think there's a lot of sharks that play both sports that kind of just shift to MLB this time of year. So the field could be a little bit softer than usual. At the same time, I mean, those that are sticking around are usually pretty sharp, so it kind of balances out. But I'm going to keep playing both, and there's definitely still edge to be had. But I will say, Cam Thomas on FanDuel, 8K. I mean, it gives you some pause looking at that price, but the Nets are paced up here. I mean, you do get that small small forward eligibility for him, which is certainly useful on a slate like tonight. So I like Thomas. Watford's priced up there as well, but you can play him at power forward. The Nets look good there. It's just they're kind of priced more to where they should be, but we're seeing that reflected in the ownership. On the other side of the ball, we have seen Halliburton look a little bit more like himself lately, still pretty inconsistent. One player I find myself getting to a lot, and maybe this is a mistake, is TJ McConnell. Only playing around 20 minutes or so per night, but he's so good fantasy point per minute that I still think he could get there. And there's just not a ton of great value at guard tonight. I know we have Pippen, who we'll talk about in a little bit, but other than him, it's tough, man. And I don't know. I think I'd rather get there than some of that value that's been burning us for Portland. But yeah, where you at on Indy? Because I definitely like McConnell maybe more than I should. Would love for you to talk me off of him, but I mean, Siakam, Turner, Halliburton all look pretty good here as well.
Yeah, man. It feels like it's kind of been a constant theme. Like McConnell, he's just a great tournament play, man. He's just been insanely productive in his minutes. So I think he's a really solid play in tournaments at 4,800 here. I'm not going to talk you off, but I will say I feel like he is kind of getting to that price point where he's getting closer to correctly priced, but definitely still a solid tournament play. And then Siakam is the chalk in Indiana. I think he's fine. The thing with Siakam that usually hesitates me a little bit is his minutes here. Kind of seeing up and down minutes for Siakam. So if he plays high minutes, I love him. If he doesn't, probably will be lower on Siakam here.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. I do like Siakam in this particular matchup against the Brooklyn front court. I mean, Claxton's a good defender, but we've seen in transition he struggles at times to get down the floor. Swerve baby here. One of the studs will April fools us tonight with the floor game. I mean, we could talk about that when we get to just kind of go in position by position. There's definitely some dangerous spots here. But then Jose with the first real question of the day, asking if we can rank these three: JJJ, Turner, Claxton. These are probably three of my favorite centers tonight. I think in terms of upside, it's JJJ just because Memphis is so thin. We'll talk about them in a minute. Then Claxton next because the minutes are more secure, but I don't know, man. It's definitely close to a tie between him and Turner for me. But how do you feel about these three centers?
Yeah, so these are yeah, I agree. I think these are all solid center plays tonight. I think I'd lean in the matchup here. Probably Claxton's probably my favorite point per dollar, then Jaren Jackson, and then Turner for me. But I mean, I think they're all great plays.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, we're seeing the model actually has Turner as the top and then Jackson towards the bottom. I mean, I don't know. I get that Jackson's inconsistent, but against Detroit's front court, no Isaiah Stewart there. I mean, I don't know. That's kind of a tough spot for me to get away from. I really like the ownership too. Point per dollar, I think it's Turner, but yeah, I think Claxton and Jackson probably have higher floors. Jackson definitely the most upside of the group. So, I mean, if you're choosing between those three, I don't think you can go wrong. Definitely want to talk anyone off playing any of those guys. I mean, since it is a short slate, I mean, we could continue to just kind of talk through the big injury situations here. We got Boston, massive favorites here against the Hornets. No surprise. Jalen Brown's going to be out. Looks like Kristaps is in. Um, Other than that, though, pretty healthy. The backcourt's healthy. We're seeing White, Andrew, and which probably takes us off Pritchard. But anything from Boston here, man. I mean, I get maybe getting to Tatum or White, knowing they have upside with Drew out, but I don't know. The total, I mean, the spread does scare me off a little bit, especially when you're paying up. Like, I wouldn't mind going to value in a game I'm worried about blowout. But yeah, man, I don't know. Are you getting to Tatum White? KP, I know the model loves here as well. So I don't know. Maybe I should be more bullish on these guys in this matchup. Obviously, Charlotte's defense is terrible.
Yeah, man. I kind of was right there with you. Tatum and Derek White here, I think, are probably my two favorite plays. Both these guys get a pretty significant boost here with no ground. So I think point per dollar, I prefer White, but both him and Tatum really solid plays in tournaments. And then I did want to note Sam Hauser, if he does start here for Jalen Brown, I don't mind him at all in tournaments as well. Pretty good matchup for him at 4,900. So I'm typically a little bit okay, it's kind of weird, man. I used to be like hating Hauser, and then recently I kind of like liked him more. So I don't know, man. if he starts, I like the matchup. Let's just put it that way at 4,100.
Yeah, man. And no, that's the way to be. Like, we don't want to get too rigid on our opinions of these guys. Like, you got to have a short memory in DFS because roles change constantly. Like Pritchard, too. That's a player I didn't love coming into the season, but he's been tremendous. Obviously, with both guards in tonight, I'm really not all that interested, but you got to have a short memory here. Obviously, we build our biases, but the quicker you can break them down, it's usually better off over the course of a season. On the other side of the ball here, we do have the Hornets. Obviously, LaMelo's out for the year. Bertans is available. No Seth Curry. No Cody Martin. The big piece of news here we're waiting on is Mitchich being questionable. If he's out, that would provide a boost to someone like Trey Mann. And then both centers are out here, Richards and Williams. So I don't know. Is Poku going to get the start at center? And yeah, I mean, is there anything you're interested in here? Even if this game blows out, some of these guys are probably going to get run. We've seen Miller consistently get minutes regardless of game script, which is obviously good for him. I don't mind getting to him sub 7K bull sites, but I guess if Poku starts at center, I'm a little bit interested, but I don't know. Could it be JT Thor? Like, is Grant Williams going to start at the 5 against his former team? Are we playing the revenge narrative? It seems like the field's getting there.
Yeah,
37% on DK, 4,400. What are your thoughts?
yeah, man. I think we did get confirmation that Grant Williams is starting at the 5. I gotta imagine it's probably a combination of revenge narrative and uh, I think they like him. So yeah, I think Grant Williams, man, phenomenal play here starting. Tough matchup, I get it, but revenge game, I really do like him here as chalk. And then you mentioned Miller. I think he's fine at 6,500. Pretty good price there, especially on FanDuel, 6,800. Argue good price over there as well. Yeah, I think he's fine. And then I do kind of like Davis Bertans as a GPP flyer. 3,400. He should see some extra run here potentially as well off the bench. So just a couple of names I kind of like there.
Yeah, man, all good calls, honestly. And yeah, Bertans is probably safe, even if this game were to get out of hand. I mean, I brought up Poku. It looks like no one's getting to him. He was questionable most of the day. Um, Coming off a game he sat out and then a really bad game against Golden State. But prior to that, he'd strung together a few decent outings. So I don't know. If you're desperate, I mean, mixing in guys like Bertans, Poku, not the craziest thing to do. And again, if Mitchich is out, I think Trey Mann's going to have to play a ton of minutes here. We probably see more ball handling for someone like Brandon Miller. So that's definitely news to keep an eye on. But terrible matchup. But on a 6 game slate, I mean, you almost want to talk about on every spot regardless. Other major injury spots, I guess we talk about Memphis. But did I cut you off? Were you going to say something about
Oh, no, no, you're good.
all right. So yeah, we got Memphis here against Detroit, and whenever we get two of these bad teams, I mean, it usually means good things for DFS. So Grizzlies here. Aldama's questionable. Bane's out. Conchar's doubtful. Jaws obviously out. No Derrick Rose, Smart, Yuta, Williams, or Zaire Williams. What's left of this team is pretty appealing here. Pretty good matchup here against Detroit. We talked about Jaren Jackson a bit. I know at his price, he's not really a priority, but I do think he's under owned. Definitely someone I'll be looking to get to in tournaments. Have to imagine Scottie Pippen probably gets to start at point guard here. Luke Kennard's getting all the ownership over on FanDuel, but as long as both these guys are starting, I think they're fine on both sides. Not necessarily forcing either, but again, guard value is kind of tough to come by tonight, so I think they both make some sense. GG Jackson, really talented player. He's been a bit inconsistent lately, though, with Jackson back in the lineup. The other Jackson, that is, would feel better about him if Aldama were to sit. But I guess where you at on Memphis? I mean, the field's not getting there aggressively other than Kennard over on FanDuel, which I get at his price. But is there anything here standing out to you? Because I think people are maybe underrating this matchup with Detroit with such a thin rotation.
Yeah, man, great caller with Memphis. I kind of agree, man. Memphis, great spot here, and I don't really understand the ownerships. Just starting up top, I think both the guards here, Pippen and Kennard, I think are a little bit too underowned on DraftKings compared to FanDuel here. Especially, I think Pippen here, 5,400. Like, I don't know, man. He's shown a big ceiling even at that price. So, like Pippen, if he starts here, and then I was shocked Brandon Clark wasn't drawing more ownership. Like he was really chalk on DraftKings the last slate. So I was kind of shocked to see him on only 12%. And then I've always been a big fan of GG Jackson, man. Saw him in person the other day.
Hmm.
Of course, he shot awful that day, but I think he's a great tournament play as well. If he's getting his shots flowing here, he has a huge ceiling. So 6,100, I think, is a pretty good price for him as well.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. I mean, when he's on, he looks amazing. I mean, they get a lot of young talent on this team. I'm a big fan of Laravia. Like, I'm not playing him tonight, but he's a player I have my eye on for the future. The issue with Clark, I mean, at the price, I have some interest, but if the front court's healthy, we're projecting him for only 20 minutes, which makes him kind of risky. He's gotten to value in just 20 minutes, but I mean, at low ownership, feel free to mix him in. I mean, all these guys are pretty appealing here. Obviously, a little bit of a boost if Aldama's out. But we're getting a lot of questions about their opponent tonight. We got Detroit on the other side. I think Cade's still questionable. We haven't seen anything on that yet, have we?
I don't believe so, no, but
No,
yeah,
you're
should be
good.
coming soon.
Yeah, I'll take a look in a second. But yeah, we got Swerve here drooling over the matchup for Durant against Memphis. And then Race Fan, what are we doing with Detroit tonight? Cade news is obviously big. So let's talk through the situation here. So Cade's questionable first and foremost, but they're also without Simone Fontecchio. Quentin Grimes is out. Sasser is questionable. Oscar Thompson's out. Mude's out. Isaiah Stewart, if I didn't already mention him, is out. Yeah, a bunch of guys out for Detroit. So what's left? If Cade's in, I do like him a lot. I mean, he's never priced as high as the other top guards, but he certainly has similar upside. Sub 9K on both sides against Memphis would have tons of interest if he's in. If he's out, Sasser likely the backup at point guard, but Sasser's questionable as well. If both of these guys are out, we're going to see a guy in Malachi Flynn who's only 3,600 on DK, 4,600 on FanDuel slide into the starting lineup, and you will watch that ownership skyrocket. Right now, nobody is rostering him. I could even see mixing him in tournaments here if these guys are healthy. I think you want one or the other to be out to feel good about it. Definitely a player to keep an eye on, though, because that news could change that dramatically very quickly. Jaden Ivey, a player who'd see a major boost in usage with Cunningham off the floor. At the same time, he plays better off the ball. Like, I don't mind having a good point guard on the floor with Ivey, so he's someone I'm looking at either way. And then Swerve brought up the Durant spot. Again, another center I'd add to that group of Turner, Clax, Jackson. There's a lot of good centers on this slate. I don't know that any's standing out from that bunch, but Durant certainly belongs in that group. We're seeing Tosan getting some love. Not a player I'm super excited to get to, but I do think the backcourt's going to be interesting here regardless. If Cunningham's in, I like him. I think Ivy's fine either way. If Cunningham's out, we could maybe get to Sasser, but even in those games where Sasser's in and Flynn is the backup, we've seen some really good performances out of Malachi Flynn. So that's someone I have an eye on tonight. But how you feeling about Detroit here? Like I said, I mean, if Cade's in, great. If he's out, though, I think I do get the Flynn.
Yeah, I love that Flynn Coleman. It hasn't seemed like he's really pulled ownership with Sasser out in the past game or two that he
Right.
should have, pulled. So love that call with Malachi Flynn. Definitely like him at low ownership. And then I'm kind of with Swerve here. I do really like Jalen Duren here in tournaments. Memphis, like Jaren Jackson was a decent defender last year. He still is, but I don't feel like he's nearly as good as he was. So I love Duren here in tournaments at 7,200. And then, yeah, you mentioned if Cade's out here, I think that guys like Ivy and Flynn potentially really benefit here with no Cade. So, yeah, great call. It's there. I think really good team to target here in GPPs.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're desperate for value, I mean, we're probably going to get someone cheap like Brown or I don't know who else. Fournier probably doesn't start, but if you're desperate playing 150 lineups, those wings do have some appeal just because Fontecchio's out as well. But really, it's the backcourt and then Durant in the front court that we're super interested in. But yeah, let's keep going here. I do want to get to the position by position. Um, I think there's one more spot we really need to talk about injuries for, though, and that is Portland. So just going to pull them up. I know they've been a pain on these last few slates, but we're without Brogdon, Kamara, Grant, Manaya, Sharp, Simons, Dybel, and Time Lord, who's been out all year. Don't need to bring him up. But regardless, seeing crazy ownership on Jabari Walker here tonight. He's had some good games, but he's had more bad games, I think. I had been going to Kamara as a pivot off him, and it's been working for me consistently. But now with Kamara out as well, you have to think he's going to soak some of that up. Otherwise, we got guys like Chris Murray. I know Rupert was the bane of a lot of people's existence in Discord last night. But yeah, man, just a very thin rotation here. Banton's been playing excellent. Terrible matchup against Orlando, but I don't know, man. The bench is just so short. I think we have to look to some of these Portland guys. I'm not sold on the Walker ownership. I think I definitely prefer Watford, who's kind of priced similarly for the Nets. But how are you feeling about Portland here, man? Because they've been a tough team to kind of get right all season.
Yeah, I completely agree, man. Like, it's been so tilting. Like, we've seen Scoot do bad, Bainton do good at low ownership. So, like, it's been really tilting. But yeah, speaking of Jabari Walker, like, I've been kind of up and down with him recently. One side I liked him, the other side I didn't. But they're so, like, depleted, man. I think he's fine. I think he's a little bit probably too chalky for my likings in this matchup, in particular against Orlando. 4,400 is a good price, but definitely tough matchup. So I'll probably be about neutral with the field there with Jabari. And I think my preferred play here is probably Banton at 6,500 in tournaments. He's just kind of shown that he does everything for Portland with these guys out. So, yeah, like Banton if he starts here in tournaments a lot.
Yeah, man, Banton's been a crazy story. Like he was cut by Boston. I think Toronto cut him as well. And Billups was like, when we got him, I didn't even know he was half this good. So I mean, this is just a guy who's taken a massive step this year. Obviously, he's not going to win it, but like in terms of true most improved players, like he's in the conversation for me. Not that you could give him the award on a team like Portland. But yeah, man, it's tough. Like Walker definitely feels a little bit overowned, but the minutes are going to be there for him. If this game stays even a little bit close, you have to think he's involved. I mean, Aiton's been putting up numbers, but we listed like 5 or 6 other centers in that price range that might be a little bit safer in their respective matchups. So yeah, I mean, Portland's fine, but again, Orlando probably makes you feel a little bit better about not rushing to get to them. I'll get to a few questions quickly here. A few people bringing up Grant Williams. I'm not going to pull the question up on the screen. It's kind of slowing down the stream, but yeah, Williams looks great as long as he's starting at center. There is some revenge there against Boston, but I think regardless, you can get to him and feel good about. We mentioned Brandon Clark. Not going to play probably more than 20 minutes, but could get you there. Kind of similar to like a Jonathan Isaac for Orlando, who's another player I had my eye on. Don't love him because you don't know how many minutes he's going to play, but he's been so good fantasy point per minute. I think you could consider him same as a Brandon Clark. Again, both in pretty good spots. Horford from Unicorn Love. Are we interested in Horford at all for Boston? For me, not really. With Porzingis in there and the blowout risk, he's kind of the first guy that they'd be resting here, even if the game doesn't get out of hand. But are you getting into any Al Horford today?
Man, I don't think so, man. Like with Kristaps in and healthy here, I typically don't play Horford when Kristaps is in. So I think he's probably a fine tournament play, but like you mentioned, definitely going to be pulled pretty quickly if this game gets out of hand. So I'll probably be lower on Horford here.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. And again, there's just so many centers in that kind of mid range that I don't think we have to necessarily force it. We did get some news. Mitchich is in for Charlotte. You could go there for guard value if you want. Takes me off Trey Man a little bit. I still think you could mix them in, but neither are really priorities. But let's use that to kind of transition into talking about guards here. So yeah, I mean, up top we have DeJounte Murray. No surprise, looks really good. A little bit underowned, honestly, compared to what I thought he might be on this slate. We probably see that come up a little bit if Cade is ruled out because people are going to have the salary. I think I'd rather go there than Halliburton just because Halliburton's been inconsistent. Derek White getting some love. McCollum, obviously, with Ingram out, looks pretty good here. He's priced up on both sites now, though. We like Cade if he's in. If he's out, obviously, we could go to the backups, but they're much cheaper. But yeah, if you're paying up at guard tonight, how you feeling? I think for me, it's Murray, obviously, if I can get there. But I don't know that there's enough value to really make him a major part of my night. But I mean, I don't know. I'm happy to get the Murray against Chicago if I can.
Yeah, man. Murray, fantastical. He's been, incredible with no Trey. Definitely not scared of this matchup here against Chicago. So, yeah, if you can get up there, I do really like DeJounte Murray up top. Just fantastic play. I was leaning more the mid tier. Obviously, the field is as well. I think Cade as well up top if he plays is solid. I do prefer DeJounte if you can get up to him. But yeah, really like the mid tier, but up top, definitely some decent contrarian options here.
Yeah, man, I won't steal your thunder. I'll let you talk about some of this mid tier. I did want to call out Bogdan Bogdanovic. Obviously, he's been playing tremendous. Had the jersey swap with Giannis the other night, which is pretty funny to see. But man, it's funny when Trey first went down, everyone wanted to play this guy, and he was playing terribly. Now he's playing really well, and it seems like the field isn't getting there as aggressively as maybe we thought they would. So he's a play I definitely have circled tonight. But yeah, talk about Bogdan if you want, and just the rest of this mid range because I do agree. I mean, logically speaking, it makes the most sense to kind of be sitting here tonight on both sides.
Yeah, man, it's kind of crazy. Like usually I have like a conviction play on an expensive player, but just like tonight for some reason, all of my favorite plays are in this mid tier. So I mentioned Cam Thomas earlier. I think he's really solid here on DraftKings at 7,100. Definitely a cash type of play for me. And then I think both CJ and Murphy both look really good, man. I really like the matchup here for New Orleans
Yeah,
against Phoenix. I just really like the environment. So love CJ, love Murphy. And then you mentioned Bogdanovich. I think he's a fantastic low owned mid tier play as well. He's really stepped it up for Atlanta. So love that call with Bogdanovich. And then I will note Banton and White. I think another two really good mid tier plays. Mentioned
yeah.
Banton, mentioned White. They do get boosts without their respective teammates. So yeah, tons of mid tier plays for me. How about you?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, everything you're saying makes sense to me. I think I'm getting to most of that. I mean, I did mention Brandon Miller. I think even if this game gets out of hand, he's probably going to be heavily involved. Pippen feels a little bit too cheap. Kind of surprised he's not more popular where he's priced just because we're kind of lacking value at point guard. But yeah, someone I'm considering, especially on FanDuel as a pivot where Kennard's 40+%. Like, that's just a very obvious leverage point. If you get away from Kennard, play a little bit more Pippen. Maybe that works out for you. But yeah, man, I'm gonna try to get to some Murray again. I'm more on FanDuel where I think it's a little bit easier here. I do like Murphy on both sides. He looks really solid, especially if you can't get up to McCollum. But plenty of guards to like tonight. And I did kind of lead off with TJ McConnell, kind of a gross play because we know he's only going to play 20 or so minutes. But against the Nets, it is the type of matchup I do think he could do well in. So I'll throw him in the group. But yeah, man, I think top to bottom, there's a lot of guards and ownership's kind of flat. So you can kind of get away with playing the ones you prefer. I don't think there's anyone you're going to miss out on necessarily at high ownership. So a good slate to get a little bit different at guard.
Yeah, agreed. And then also one more player I forgot to cover, Alex Caruso, who on FanDuel is pretty chalky tonight. I think he's another really good tournament play. Atlanta, typically I like to target with guards just in general. So yeah, love Caruso, especially on FanDuel at 30%.
Yeah, man. And you get the forward eligibility with him over on DK, which I'll use to kind of segue into the forwards here. So, I mean, if we're looking at OF index, no surprise, we're going to see Tatum at the top. No Jalen Brown. Obviously, has a very high ceiling, but at that price, if the game were to blow out, maybe he's not quite worth that tag. I think it is ownership you want to mix him in, especially on FanDuel, only 10%. That seems a little bit low to me. The reason he's so low on, though, is Zion, who's been tremendous with Ingram out of the lineup. This guy has really taken another step forward this season. I mean, a lot of crap talked on him earlier in the season. Definitely kind of flipped that script now. He's been playing tremendously up against Kevin Durant, who's virtually unowned. 2% owned Durant always is somewhat interesting to me. Again, he's sharing usage now with Booker, Beal, etc. So never a priority. But whenever you can get a player with his type of upside at low ownership, I think he's worth considering. I am a bit surprised by DeRozan's ownership on DK. I thought he'd be a little bit more popular. Great matchup here against Atlanta. On FanDuel, 23%. But let me kind of lead off. How do you feel about DeRozan at 9% owned? And where are you at it forward, I guess, on the high end first? And then we can talk about the rest of it.
Yeah, man. I think DeRozan, solid tournament play against Atlanta. So I like that call. I think he's decent. And then up top, man, you mentioned Zion, you mentioned Tatum. I think these guys are both really solid here. Especially Zion, like 8,700. He's just been on a way
Yeah.
different level than what he was, man. So love Zion, love Tatum at low ownership. Yeah. And then guys like Pinchero, I'm just not getting to too much, even at 8,400. So just the main like two expensive guys, Tatum and Williamson for me.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. I don't mind Manjo. Obviously, it's a great matchup, but it's tough to play him over Zion here. Like, even with ownership in the equation as well. Like, and still, I'd rather get to DeRozan, probably Siakam. We're seeing a ton of ownership go to Porzingis. Actually, no, that's come way down. So, yeah, when Brown was first ruled out, we were projecting him way higher. It's good to see that's kind of flattened out because I didn't want to have to play him. We talked about Murphy. I mean, we do have Herb Jones as a very logical pivot, kind of similar to what we were saying with Kennard and Pippen. Like, obviously, at his price, Kennard on FanDuel looks to be the better play. And maybe 6, 7 times out of 10, he's going to be the better play. But when you can get that kind of ownership discount off a player who likely benefits in a game if Murphy were to be struggling, I do think Jones makes some sense as a tournament pivot. But yeah, I mean, sorting by ownership, like I said, I mean, the Jabari Walker stuff's a little bit scary to me. I like Williams, assuming he's starting at center. Watford looks good here as well. But yeah, just kind of round out forwards. I just any kind of overall thoughts or where you at on some of this value?
Yeah, so yeah, you just mentioned Walker. I think he's fine, man. Definitely decent forward value. And then Trendon Watford, obviously, the clear cut chalk value I do like. Um, you mentioned Herbert Jones. I don't hate him as like a pivot, I guess, to Murphy, but I would obviously prefer Murphy and get to him. The model really likes Aaron Neesmith here. I kind of wanted to hear your thoughts on him. I'm not really too high on him, but the model definitely likes him.
Yeah, man, it's tough with Carlisle. Like his rotations are inconsistent, and we kind of project Naismith for like his median outcome. But it seems like he's either way over or way under it. Like the models loved him all season. It's just not a player I'm ever too excited to get to. So yeah, I think we're both kind of disagree with the model on that one, which is fine. It is interesting. Glenn brought this up. Glenn Flanagan in chat. Again, I'm not pulling up every comment, guys. I do see them though. But yeah, I think Herb is actually scoring better than Murphy in the model today, and it's a good question why. It's very minor, like we said, but I don't know. Murphy's the higher usage player. He's more aggressive on offense. He's been doing more lately. We're projecting him for one more minute, but at the same time, I mean, Jones playing nearly as many minutes, even though he's not seeing as much usage. He does crash the boards. He does get those stocks as well. So I don't know. I don't know that I agree with the model that he should be higher, but like I said, this is an excellent point to maybe find some leverage if you don't play Murphy and you do go to Herb Jones, or you could play both. I do think Herb is under owned, just knowing what he's capable of with Ingram out of the lineup. But yeah, it's interesting, man. In saying all that about how I like the leverage point, I didn't even know that he was scoring better in the model. So maybe that's all the more reason to maybe make that pivot in tournaments.
Yeah. Kind of glad you're that way too, because I wasn't too high on him, but the model was like, in love with him, so kind of wanted
Yeah.
to clear up both the air there with him.
Yeah, man. No, I'm with you. Sometimes you just gotta go with the data, and the model's been sharp all season. So definitely happy to kind of do that and make that pivot where I can. Jose did ask if Jabari Walker was a lock. I think in cash games, you just play him. The minutes are going to be there. In tournaments, there's enough kind of value in that range, especially at center where you could get different. We're talking about Grant Williams, Trendon Watford as other popular plays, but Clark, I know I mentioned Isaac. He's not going to show in the model, but there's enough guys to maybe get different there that if there's one piece of chalk on the slate I'm not crazy about, it's him. I do like the player. I do think he's talented, but he's just been really inconsistent. And it's a terrible matchup here against Orlando. So if there's a piece of chalk I don't love, for me, it's Walker. Maybe it burns me and he goes for 40 plus. Not going to be surprised. I think if you're playing low risk or cash games, you just play him. But in tournaments, that's one of the first pivots I'm making personally. Anson with a feel free to follow up on what I was saying, but
Oh no, you're good. I was just gonna, I just say I agree with that. I'm probably lower on tournaments, better in cash with Jabari.
yeah, man, this one's tough for me. Do you think Jordan Goodwin is a good play today for Memphis? It seems he's behind both Kennard and Pippen on the depth chart. I initially thought they were going to kind of phase him out. It seems like some games he's heavily involved, some games he's not. I don't know that I have a good read on it. Do you, in terms of Jordan Goodwin, what he's been doing in that backcourt for Memphis?
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm never really too high on Goodwin if he's not starting. And just kind of with these guys back, it's hard to prioritize him. We do have Contra out as well, but even then, it's like he's got to battle with the other guards in the backcourt there. So I'm not too high on him.
Yeah, and I mean, he's definitely bringing it up, I imagine, because of the game he just had against Orlando. 37 FanDuel points, 40 on DK in just 26 minutes. And that was a game that they had both Pippen and Kennard healthy. I think Pippen's minutes were somewhat limited because Goodwin was so hot. But I'll say this if you want to mix him in tournaments, I don't think it's crazy. Not someone I'd be using in cash games coming off the bench. But yeah, I mean, all the Grizzlies have upside here against. Detroit. And yeah, we're going to go through centers pretty quickly here. Um, Talking about Memphis, I mean, Jackson not as high in the model as I thought he'd be, admittedly. I do think he's under owned for his upside. Joe Val, I'm just not playing the rest of the season. I don't care what his price is. But yeah, I think Porzingis scoring as the top center on the slate's a little bit surprising. I like the spot for Vooch, Turner, Clint, Claxton, those four, and then Duren, another guy I'm probably going to get to pretty aggressively, or where most of my focus is at center tonight. Obviously, if you're going all the way down, we have Watford, Williams, Clark, etc. I'm still going to Bruno Fernando, even though he's been playing poorly. As long as the Kongo's out, I think you could mix him in. But yeah, just what's your overall take on center here? And then we could get into any last minute questions and then a quick build over on DraftKings.
Yeah, so pretty much align with you here. I've just like with Jova, I've kind of been joking about this, but like even if he's like below 5K, like he's had one pop off game, man, like one game, and it's nuked me. But every other time as chalk, he's kind of busted here. So, 4,800, good price point. I'm not gonna get there. Um, and then in terms of the centers, I'm really locking in on here. Obviously Watford and Williams, the kind of I guess easy answer here. I think they're both solid for value here at center. And
Mhm.
then, yeah, love getting to Clarkson tournaments. Love getting to Dern in tournaments. And then I guess I'll throw Turner in the mix as well. I think Turner also sold center play. So either probably going to be in the mid tier or value for center, most likely.
Yeah, I agree, man. I'm on pretty much all the same plays, and yeah, like I said, I'm a little bit surprised by Porzingis. I mean, he could get there in 3 quarters. So on DK where he's sub 8K, he does make some sense at 12% owned. But yeah, my favorites today definitely Capella, Duran, Claxton, Turner, just because he's a little bit too cheap. And then yeah, we have good value with Watford, Williams, and then if you want to mix in guys like Fernando Isaac, if you're playing 150, I think that's fine. Um, I guess that's it for centers. But yeah, guys, feel free to get any other questions you have in. Um, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We got some overlap now with MLB, so the more you guys kind of give us our big ups on this, the more we're going to extend these free videos into the playoffs, etc. For NBA. We want to keep giving you this content. But yeah, man, let's get into a build here, and it's kind of interesting tonight. I don't know if there's any like super obvious locks. I will say Watford at his price, probably one of the first pieces we have in here, right? And then I don't know. Is there anything else you think we should start with?
I really like Grant Williams, especially in the revenge narrative. But if we could fit in both those guys, it probably would
Oh
be
yeah,
two
yeah.
best
They
plays.
both. Yeah, they both have power forward and center eligibility, so we could even play them both at forward if we wanted. But yeah, man, I think I like that a lot as a starting point. Though we're looking at guard, still no Cade news, right? I mean, that's such a
Oh,
big part of this slate.
no. Let's see. Javonte Green. Nope. No. Wait, no. We do have news. Sorry, Cade Cunningham 2 months ago. Cade Cunningham available to play. Marcus Sasser ruled out. So it's Malachi Point time.
Yeah, so I love Flynn off the bench. I actually like Cade a lot too as a pay up, but for the sake of the build, let's go with Flynn here.
Love
Because
it.
now we're really cheap and we could pretty much fit anything we want at any other position. Who's your favorite pay up tonight? Is it Murray, Zion, probably?
Yeah, I think both those guys are good. I think point per dollar Zion probably projects a little bit better. I love Zion here as a whole, so yeah, probably Zion. I think Tatum's solid too, but I prefer Zion.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. I think we could fit both, honestly, given how much value we have already. Yeah, if we go Murray, Zion with the Flynn, Watford, Williams, we still have 6.6K plus per player. And I will say, I don't know how popular Flynn gets here, so keep an eye on that. But I just love him at his price. I mean, I feel better about him than Pippen. Um, Definitely better about him than who was the other value guard in the slate we were talking about.
Um,
Um,
I'm trying to figure it out.
I don't know. The Orlando guys were getting some love.
Yeah.
It's tough to go Scoot, but yeah, man. I mean, just as true value at guard, he makes plenty of sense. All right, so we're left with 6,600 for a shooting guard, a small forward, and a utility. Any initial thoughts? Let me put my boy in here. Killer Cam at 7,100 against Indy, I think makes a lot of
Okay.
sense. But yeah,
I like.
64 for small forward and utility.
I was just gonna say Kim Thomas. That's perfect. Let's see here. I like. Let's go through a couple mid guys. I like CJ. We can get him at the util. Who else did I like here? Trey Murphy. I think solid small forward. I don't know if we have enough for all that, but
Yeah.
yeah, we go. I guess we could go like I don't hate Sam Hauser at 49 if he starts. I think that's another option we could go with. Get that Boston Celtics exposure. So definitely a lot of ways here.
Yeah, I'm with you on CJ or Trey. I think Trey makes sense, but I wanted to see what we were left with if we went CJ because obviously he looks awesome. Yeah, it would be Hauser. I think that's more of a tournament build, obviously kind of higher risk. But if we went to Murphy, at small forward. And I think you're fine either way. But yeah, if we go Murphy, that leaves us 64 for utility. I'm guessing we get a good center here. Yeah, we go Miles Turner, boom, or
Perfect.
Capella. I like Capella.
Great.
Um, yeah, man, any of these guys. This is a really strong build in my opinion. But yeah, guys, any last minute questions? Let me take a look. I don't know if this is refreshing
Uh,
fully.
yeah, they just said Cunningham's in. That's all I got in mind. So
Okay. Yeah, Cunningham is in. Let's see here. Oh, okay. Now things are popping up for me. Yeah, Cunningham's in. Shouts out Unicorn Love with that one. But yeah, I think that's it for today. Any kind of last minute thoughts on this slate? We did get the big piece of news we were waiting on with Kate, but I think that's all really that we were kind of holding
Yeah,
out for.
I will shout out. Obviously, you guys are writing the plugs. I do want to shout out you guys and MLB. Make sure after you build your NBA to pop over to the MLB plug and build some honest over there as well.
Hey man, appreciate it. Yeah, it's gonna be fun these few weeks of overlap, but yeah, I mean we've hit the ground running with MLB. I know we already had a 100K winner in the Discord just using the model, which is awesome to see. Great way to start the season. I'm slowly ramping up my volume, but yeah, it's fun, man. I'm loving having both sports, and on a night like tonight too. Just keep in mind. MLB locks 10 minutes later, and that might not seem super significant. But I know for someone like me who's juggling multiple sites, multiple sports, that 10 minutes can be everything. So get your NBA in first, feel good about it. You got 10 minutes extra for MLB. And there is late swap for MLB on both sites. So keep that in mind. But yeah, please like the channel, guys. Check out the links in the description below to get access to Discord and the daily plug for MLB and the model you see here for NBA and access to all our pros. Are you on double duty? Are you on Discord today
I
for
think Eric is on Discord, so make sure to hop in there and listen to Eric break down his
Yeah,
slate.
absolutely. Yeah, every day for NBA, we do have someone in 30 minutes before lock answering last minute questions. We're going to start to do that for MLB too. I think 1 or 2 days a week. We should have Chris in there tomorrow. And then once NBA wraps, I'll start to take that over. But yeah, guys, one of the best bangs for your buck in the industry. Very comfortable saying that. But again, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Good luck tonight, everyone. And let's make some money.
Good
Thanks
luck,
again,
guys.
everyone.
Let's shit.